I, along with Laura and Octavius, managed to run away from the chaos through the room's entrance. We ran out of the palace, stayed running until we were far away from the palace. There was a point where we had to sit down and take a break because we found a park. We asked each other if we were fine. We comforted each other. After a few minutes of rest, Octavius suggested that we should head home to our headquarters. Laura asked us how. I suggested that we can always walk back home. Then we heard something thud a few yards from us. I looked on the direction of the sound and I saw it. My horse carriage appeared out of nowhere. Laura and Octavius looked at me with curiosity and interest. They exclaimed in unison, "You can summon objects as you wish?" I wished I could do that. How wonderful would that power be? What if I tried it? I wished that something great would happen, and we waited. But then, something actually happened. A strong lightning bolt struck something in the distance. We can't be sure because its strike was buildings away from us. Now their interest grew. Octavius was so happy he firmly believed I had a power of some kind. He wished that we had something to arm ourselves. Time to try out my power. I tried to close my eyes, but instead, I was greeted with the vision of someone. Then I realized I can control their body. I felt something in my head, so I took it off. It was a blue hat. I lay on the ground powerless on this situation. I really think something should happen to me. All of a sudden, I heard a voice in my head. "I'm going to help you," it said. I couldn't control my body, but the voice made me take off my blue hat. I inspected it carefully. The voice told me to throw my hat at the prince and the queen, and I threw it with all my might. I saw the hat knock the queen's crown off and disarm the prince's weapon. I see that it released an explosive charge. It was so strong, it broke the queen's crown into pieces and broke the prince's weapon. The voice then told me to run where it tells me to go. And so I ran. It led me to the first door of the palace. I identified the door and I went inside. The inside appears to be a master bedroom with a fireplace. The voice told me to look under the bed. I saw that there appears to be a lever, so I pulled it. The voice then told me to examine the fireplace. I ran to it and I saw that the fire was gone, and in its place a box appeared. I was then told that I had something useful. What would it be? I felt around my clothes pockets for items, but to no avail. I felt around my chest, and I felt something. It was my necklace with a key. I took it off and tried the key on the box. It opened. The voice told me to grab all its contents. Next, it told me to look in the wardrobe and remove all the clothes. After pulling them out, I was shocked to find a hidden door. It told me to open the door and save my friend. I wasted no time in opening that door, and I found someone. Someone with glowing blue eyes and flowing black hair. This person was Louis, the clairvoyant. But before I could help her, the voice tells me to hide as royal guards are coming. And so I closed the wardrobe door and hoped that they would not open it. After a minute of them searching, I heard footsteps fading away. I wasted no time in carrying Louis and led her out of the back doors of the palace. I carried her all the way to the cottage across the cathedral. The voice told me one last thing. "You're free to go." I regained control of my body, and Louis finally woke up. She asked me what happened, and I replied that she was in safe hands. I regained my body, and I told Octavius that Walter had rescued an old friend and an object of great importance. Octavius smiled and gave me a hug. Laura then wished that someone else came back and helped us. I wonder how I could fulfill this wish. But then I heard this voice inside of me, and it told me to drive my friends back home. And so I rushed them inside the carriage and I started driving. Once we reached John's home, I dropped them off. The voice then gave me directions to a certain location. I drove there and I assessed this location. It appears to be a clearing in the woods and a distinct dirt path to somewhere. You see that path? Follow it. You'll find me. I cautiously followed the path. There could be traps. It wasn't long until I reached the end of the path. It appears that it holds a small hut. I walked slowly on the entrance and knocked on the door. To my surprise, I recognized the door when it told me to come in. I opened the door to a shocking revelation.
Hey.
You're alive? I exclaimed. Absolutely, Rox. You know who calls me Rox? It's none other than my best friend John. We had a long conversation. Our main topic was about how he escaped death. He told me that he already knew that he was going to be a big target by the Queen. He reminds me that he keeps getting the feeling that he's feeling watched. He really felt uneasy, so he faked his own death. When I asked him why in front of me, he said he wanted to give me a signal. I tell him that it has worked too well. He's been living in this cottage for the past 50 years. After an hour of conversing, I told him that I needed to go home. He approved of it, but he firmly grabbed my hands before I left. He asked me to keep his life a secret until when the time comes. Best friends' vows are the strongest. I swore to it. We three ducked for cover. The black smoke is attacking the guests with full rage. Our blood boiled when even the royal guards allied with the black smoke. We had no choice but to fight against them. It was a hard battle because we didn't have weapons to support us. It wasn't until all forces were neutralized that we noticed that the Queen and her prince were gone. Then we saw where they went, a broken window, and we saw them in a black horse. The Queen waved goodbye to us while smiling, and the prince rid the horse away from the palace. My companion Fred inspected the bullets near the body. He told us that something is not right. There appears to be small pieces of paper scattered with these bullets. These are blanks, Fred said. I said, that's true, but that's not what I'm talking about. I was talking about what happened to the man who was shot. It disappeared. Both Fred and I agreed that this was strange. My other companion, Albert, ushered the other guests out of the room and outside of the palace where they can run.